Hello and welcome to another edition of The Lamp brought to you by Sarah Media in our UK-based studio. If you're just joining us, welcome, and if you're a newcomer, welcome to The Lamp. The Lamp is brought to you by Sarah Media for us to learn and make progress. The reason why we think The Lamp is very important to our community is because there is a lot of stuff that has happened over the past decades in and out of the diaspora. As Sierra Leoneans, we have learned a lot, but have we made progress with some of the stuff that we have learned over those decades? Today's edition, we're going to be talking to somebody who has been doing exemplary well within the Syrian community in the UK in the religious aspects of what the month that we are right now is the Ramadan and is also Lent. Christians are practicing the Lent fasting period as Muslims are going through the Ramadan period, which exists and lasts for 30 days, and the Christians are doing it for 40 days. But today we're going to talk to somebody who has been serving the community in the Lordship way as a Christian, a dedicated pastor, and is none other than Pastor Paul. Pastor Paul, welcome to The Lamp.
Thank you, Brother T-Boy, for bringing me here. It's an honor and it's a privilege.
The Lamp is brought to you today for the first time. As we all know, sometimes we've been online with various different programs, but today we are inviting you with pleasure, and we are happy that you honor our invitation to be on The Lamp to talk about Christianity and the importance of Christianity within our community.
That's right.
So it is, I would say, a fasting period for both Christians and Muslims.
Yes, it is.
And at the moment, we are observing fasting as Muslims during the Ramadan period, and Christians are going through the Lent season. So tell us a little bit about Christianity and the importance and value of Christianity within our community.
Well, I would like to say, we are a people that believe in both religion, being a Christian and a Muslim. And we are such a unique people. If you're from Sierra Leone or you know somebody from Sierra Leone, you understand that we got, a very beautiful religious tolerance and that coexists with the true religion. So I believe it's no accident, it's no coincidence or whatever for us to, be fasting the same time.
Right.
Well, the Christians, Lent has gone way
Couple
far.
of days further than
so
than Ramadan.
I believe God has a reason why now we are observing the two main religious practices of the two main religion in Sierra Leone and
Right.
in Africa.
I know in Sierra Leone, Ramadan is more popular than the Lent period, even though we are both observing the same fasting times in this particular month, which is March. It seems like Ramadan has taken over. Lent is not so much popular, just only within the Christians that are actually practicing Lent. Why do you think that is happening?
Well, yes, Lent is not that popular in Christendom because Lent is only practiced with a certain group of Christians, like the Catholic, the Anglican, the Methodist. It's part of the dogma, it's part of their religious practices.
Okay.
To practice Lent. Come to the Pentecostals and the happy clappy people, of which I am. I belong to that group. We don't practice Lent. But when it comes to fasting, we fast throughout the year. Some churches will fast the first 3 days of the month.
Okay.
Some will fast the last 3 days of the month. And there's some Christians that will fast in between the week, maybe once a week or maybe twice a week.
Okay.
But so we don't do annual fasting. We do general fasting. We fast throughout the whole year. So but like the Catholics, the Anglican and the Methodists, they tend to fast at a very periodic time.
Which is the Easter period.
Yeah, that's correct.
So what do you think are the importance of fasting in Christianity?
If we want to see the importance of fasting, then we look at the life of Jesus. That what makes us Christians. We believe in Christ. So if we want to understand exactly what fasting is all about, look at the lifestyle of Jesus. What he said about fasting, what he's taught about fasting. So if we look at Jesus, then we understand exactly what fasting is all about. You know, fasting is a time for you to come back to God in reflection, you know. And then God has given us a blueprint in the book of Isaiah chapter 58, what fasting is all about,
Okay.
and the reason why we should fast, you know. So if I can read my Bible very quickly, just Isaiah chapter 58, very, very quick,
No
I will
problem.
tell you the reason
Yep.
or why we fast, or, you know, what we should do when we are fasting. Isaiah chapter 58, I'll begin to read from verse 6, I believe. All right, it says, so God is saying, it's not this is the fast that I have chosen to loose the bands of wickedness. That's the first reason why we are fasting.
Okay.
And number two, to undo the heavy burdens. And number three, to let the oppressed go free. And to break every yoke. He said the reason why we are fasting is to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out. He said when you see the naked, that you cover him and not hide yourself from your own flesh. And then the benefits in verse 6, verse 8. My glasses, sorry.
You need to wear your glasses first.
Forget it. Alright, so in verse 8, then it said, then your light shall break forth like the morning, your healing shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord shall be your reward. And then you shall call on the Lord. You shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will hear, and he will say, here I am. So God has given us the blueprint why we fasted, the purpose of fasting and the benefit of fasting. So God is saying here in verse 6, I say, this is the kind of fast I have chosen. I have chosen this fast. So when you fast for the first reason is to loose the bands of wickedness. When you fast, of course, fasting has to be accompanied with prayer.
Right.
If you fast and you're not praying, that's not fasting. No, that's a longer strike.
Right.
Because fasting and prayer is like the twins. They go together. They're very important. One cannot be without the other.
Right.
You know, one is not important without the other. So they go together. So when you fast and when you pray, God says here, you fast because you want to lose the bands of wickedness. There's so much wickedness today among us as people. You know, some people they are just born wicked, if I can say it like that.
Okay.
So when you fast, you lose the bands of wickedness. You come against wickedness. You pray against wickedness. You know, because the kind of things that we do to our fellow man. You know, so when you're fasting, you are breaking that bond of wickedness.
Okay.
And it said to undo the heavy burdens. You see, like when you're fasting, you realize that after the period of fasting, you feel light. You know, like you feel so good
So
about
you feel
yourself.
relief about
That's
you
right, that's
taking
right.
the burden off you.
Yeah, that's right. The burden has been taken away. That is
Right.
the reason why after a period of fasting, you realize that, oh my God, I'm so stress free.
So is it fasting the period in Christianity is supposed to be the time when you don't just deprive yourself from eating or praying, but it helps you to release the amount of tension in you, as in you fasting against all evil deeds, all evil actions within yourself or people around you. How does that make you feel if you're going to be doing it, like you said, your own type of church that you're from in your congregation, you do it like every other month or every other
Let's say
week?
every month, or you do it possibly 2 or 3 times in a week. But throughout the month, we are fasting. We are people are fasting, yeah. And then, you know, to answer your question, fasting is not only the abstinence from food. Some people think, oh, because I'm not going to eat from 6 to 6, so I'm fasting. It's go much more deeper than that.
Okay.
You know, fasting is not only about food, about not eating or eating, not drinking or drinking. When you're fasting, it's a period of, you know, it's between you and God. The reason why you don't eat is to allow you to kill the flesh, to put the flesh under subjection,
Okay.
and to keep your concentration on God. You know, that's the time when you feel God. You feel God when you're fasting. But when you're not fasting, you're just on and about. It's difficult to concentrate on God. You know, so fasting is very good. It's very good for the human soul. And it detox you
Okay.
from all the pollutions and all the filthiness of this life.
Okay.
You know, it makes you clean. It makes you, at the end of the day, you feel clean.
Okay.
You know, and you know, even health science have told us, you know, have taught us that fasting is one of the easiest way to lose weight.
Right.
You know, and so when you fast, you it's good for your health. You know.
So are there certain dietary that you have to eat when you're fasting in Christianity? Because in Islam, I don't think there is a specific diet. It's just something that you don't normally eat. You would use as a means of pleasure. Is there any special dietary in your fasting?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I've not read it in the Bible. There's no specific kind of food that you can eat or what you cannot eat.
Okay.
But medical science will advise you, you know, what to eat and what not to eat, especially when you're fasting. And even common sense will tell you that if you're fasting, there's certain things you cannot eat. I mean, you know, like you're breaking your fast. You're not just going to eat a whole a pot of soup or whatever because you're hungry. You have to do it in moderation, you know. So there's other things like, for instance, if some people got problem with eating meat all throughout the year, and then you are fasting, you say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to eat any meat, I'm not going to eat any fish, I just want to do a vegetable diet kind of. So it's up to you.
Right.
So, you know,
so that one is optional.
It is. There's no scriptural reference I can give to you now that the Bible says this: when you fast, thou shalt not eat this, thou shalt not touch this, thou shalt not drink this. I don't think there's anything like that.
So in fasting during Lent period, I understand that you guys don't do Lent, but you fast on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you will give up? Because I have friends who normally give up certain elements of stuff that they do on a regular basis to say, okay, well, this particular Lent when I'm fasting, I'm going to give up smoking, for example.
Yeah.
And when they do give up smoking for that 40 days of Lent, they don't come back to smoking anymore.
Yeah.
And they tend to use that as a way of saying to themselves, disciplining themselves not to be able to do certain things that they normally do. Is this the same in your own Christian sect?
Well, you know, we believe in abstinence. Abstinence from everything, from smoking, from alcohol, from immorality and all that. We is not when you're fasting, you should abstain from it. We believe in constant, you know, abstination from whatever that makes you unclean. You know, we tried our best. We're humans. We are not spirits. We are not angels, kind of. But we are human beings. so it's true that when some people, when they are fasting, certain things. I mean, what you normally do, you will not do it when you're fasting.
Now, I mean, they don't come back and do it again for their life. They abstain forever.
That's true. That's true. Some people, if you want to beat a particular habit, you know, they say if you can beat it if you can like stop it for 2 weeks, work on it for 2 weeks, you can beat it.
So what do you think about fasting within our community in the Christian sect? Do you think it's more embraced within Christianity in our Sierra Leone community in the UK, or is lesser compared to the way how Islam is being embraced by Sierra Leoneans within the community in the UK?
Well, I will speak from my own side.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Christian, and we've got a very, very rigid form of fasting. You know, we taught our people to fast all the time.
When you say rigid form of fasting, what exactly are you talking about? Because anything that is rigid is like drastic.
We've got different types of fasting. So when I say rigid, you know, like we've got the Esther fast, which is the dry fast. Like for 3 days, some people will go for 4 days without food, without water, without even having a shower. You know, secluded. Not that you're fasting, you do it dry fast. You're walking all about in Peckham. You are just in your room for 3 days. You will not see you will not even see the sunshine or whatever. It is cold. You're just indoors, you know, and praying and seeking the face of God concerning a particular thing that you want God to do. So we go, when I say rigid, it's really, really rigid.
Okay.
And there are people that, you know, fast like from 6 from the time they go to bed in the night and to 6 in the evening. No water, nothing else, you know. All they'll be doing, they'll be praying and reading the word of God. Some people, okay, they're working. Some people have to do their thing.
Because I was just about to ask.
Yeah, some people have to do their thing, you know, because the world we're living in is a commercial world. You know, be praying and 21 days you're fasting and you're just indoors and you refuse to go to work. No, but the fasting is not going to pay your bill. I mean, you know, you have to be. I mean, I have common sense that I need to go and find some money.
Okay.
I can be fasting in the process of fasting, and I can be able to work and find money to look after myself. So we've got some like the dry fast is not something that you do all the time.
So how regularly would you advise the dry fast, on a regular basis or maybe once a month?
Well, some
or-
people do it once a month. Some people do it once every 3 months. Some people do it maybe once a year. It all depends on your strength. You know, um, I've met people who can fast for many days. For instance, like for example, for me, for a long time I've been fasting 100 days straight. It's just that this year and last year and the year before, I couldn't do it. But like I've got that's my tradition. Some sort of, I'll begin to fast from the 1st of January to the 10th of April. That's 100 days in the calendar.
Right.
Because if I want to come closer to God, and if I'm seeking the face of God concerning something I want God to do for me, and then, like for instance, now in 2025, I want God to do something for me, I will declare the first 100 days of that particular year to fast and seek the face of God. So we got some kind of rigid. When I say rigid, some people you will surprise
Wow.
how far they can go when it comes to fasting.
So are you saying now specifically, does the Christians within our Sierra Leone community do that on a regular basis, like you know?
Yeah. Like I've got a lot of Christian friends, Anglican friends, they're Catholic friends. They're observing Lent now. They're fasting,
Okay.
and some are serious with it about it. So, and fasting is become the second nature of us as Christians as well. People all over the world, Christians all over the world are fasting. In Sierra Leone, people are fasting.
Yeah.
And it is more, that is why you see people are praying all the time. And there are churches around that are declaring a period of fasting. Some churches will say, we're going to, in the month of April, we're going to fast for 21 days. Some people will go to 28 days. Some churches will go for the whole month of April, they are fasting. So there is service every day. Some people don't understand that, these pastors, every day is church service.
Okay.
But people don't complain when there is party all the time.
That's
you
true.
know.
Okay, that's good. That's a very good example you just made, and I think within our community, I will say we suffer a lot from the amount of events, activities, social activities that we attend to.
That's right.
More or less than the religious activities that we attend to. I totally agree with you on that. So how do you fast in Europe? How does it affect your daily life? Because you just mentioned earlier on, some people have to go to work and do stuff. How does it affect your life in the UK, for example?
I don't think the system of fasting here in the UK is different from the one in Africa. The one in Africa, okay, because there is no availability of work, so some people tend to stay at home or just being around.
Okay.
But here the system is fixed in the way that you have to go and work. So in the process of working, you're fasting. In the process of fasting, you're working. So it goes side by side. And the thing about the Christian fast, there's something that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, that when you fast, do not appear to men that you're fasting. It is a personal thing with you and God.
Right.
You don't go and, explain it or announce, I'm fasting today, I don't want any trouble, I'm fasting. No. It's has to be between you and God. If I want people to know, then I'll possibly tell my wife that I'm fasting, or tell your husband that you're fasting, for a so and so period. So it's not something that you talk about. It's not something that you show to people that I'm fasting. It's a personal thing between you and God, because you know what you want.
Yeah.
And what you want, man cannot give it to you. No human being can give it to you, except God can give it to you. So it is between you and God.
Okay.
you know.
So does fasting have to be for a specific reason? Because we know Lent is specific, but you are Pentecostal, right? If
Yeah,
I was
I am.
saying
Yes, I am.
so in the Pentecostal churches, does fasting has to be for any specific thing that you might want from God, or any specific reason, being that it is not being practiced in a specific time of the year? It's like ongoing. Is that some of the reason why it is so open, so that you can fast for any specific reason?
Yeah, fasting. Every fasting has a purpose. I just said to you, if any fast without a purpose is an hunger strike.
Right.
Every fast. That is to say that when you are about to fast. Let me say I want to fast tomorrow, Monday. Right, I want to do the whole day of fasting tomorrow on Monday. What I would do before I go to bed this night, I will commit that fasting to God. That Lord, I'm going to be fasting tomorrow,
Right.
and I'm believing you for this. I'm believing you for that. Give me the strength, because it's not easy. If it's one day you're fasting, it is a spiritual battle. It's something that, like for instance, when you're not fasting, you're not hungry.
No,
You're not even
turn
conscious of food.
of food.
Maybe
Yes.
until 12ish in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You don't even you think about breakfast. But the day that you see you're going to fast, that is the day that you'll be so hungry
Sure.
that your flesh, your desire is going for food, and then you're thinking, well, the day before this one, I was not that too anxious about food. Why is it going like this? Because why? It is a spiritual exercise. It's a spiritual activity, So, yeah, it's a war against the flesh. The flesh
Right.
does not like to be
To be
subdued.
starved.
So in fasting, you subdue the flesh.
So basically, if I ask a question, in Islam,
Mhm.
as Muslims, you're not supposed to be breaking fast with food being given to you by a partner that you're not officially married to.
Mhm.
Is it the same for Christianity?
Of course.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because again, many people might not understand that concept.
We preach holiness unto the Lord. Yeah, we preach that we're not perfect, but do your best
Right.
to live holy unto the Lord. We don't do dating. We don't do sex before marriage. I'm not different when I'm fasting. I'm the same person. I'm the
Right.
same Christian. It's not because I'm fasting. No, when I'm fasting, I'm the same. When I'm not fasting, I'm the same. The same practices I am doing when I'm not fasting, I practice them as well.
Okay.
So I know that in Islam that you're not allowed to eat the food of a sexual partner or sinful partner, we call it in the Bible. So of course, if a Christian is fasting and you go a girlfriend somewhere, you're not even allowed to. You know what I mean? But
Right.
like let's say we're all different. Everybody's got what they believe in and what they practice. You say you're a Christian and you go a girlfriend somewhere, and then when you're breaking fast, you're eating a food. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right. That's not holiness at all.
So is it okay to buy food from your normal shops? Is there anything like food that Islam they said halal,
Halal.
as in food that are blessed? Is there any form of food that Christians should eat that are not supposed to be food that are not blessed? For example, I asked you whether there is any specific diet, and you said there is none at all. So is there any kind of food that should be blessed or halal in Islam, if I can ask that?
Every food that touches my lip is blessed. Every food that I lay my hand to eat. That's why before I eat, I pray over it and commit it to God. That God purify this food, sanctify it, make it good for me, may it become medicinal to me. So we believe that whatever we lay our hands on is blessed. So there's no specific scripture that says don't eat this, don't eat this, don't eat this. Like in the Old Testament, it was not allowed to eat pig. The Jewish people,
Right.
God told them not to. But I don't want I don't want to go into that. That's another topic for another day. But in Christianity, we have no limitation. We have no limitation. Bible says whatever I said before you eat, ask no question.
Okay.
So because you have the mandate to pray and to sanctify it.
So anything that comes to you, as long as you have prayed over it, is
Yeah,
clean.
if
clean.
if I like it, if I want to eat it, then I will eat it. But if I don't like it, you can't eat what you don't like.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if you set a table before me now, trust me, if you set a table before me and I like what is before me, I'll pray in my heart. I will not be shouting and I'll pray over the food and just commit the food to the Lord, and I will eat.
Wow. Thank you very much, first of all, for that. And I think the reason why I asked you that question is because that's a huge taboo in Islam. And we all know what that means. During Ramadan, many people tend to go and marry wives because they want to have their period of Ramadan to be pure.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes people tend not to eat food from their unlawful partners, if I would say so. So do you have a lot of Sierra Leoneans that question you about what fasting really means, or are they curious about learning about fasting within the Christian sect?
Not really. I think we have done a lot of teaching on that. You know, if you're Christian and you don't know about fasting, and then you probably not been listening. Maybe you're not been going to Bible studies in church, you know. Because if you belong to a church, because the church is a community, if you belong to the church, you'll be taught how to fast. You'll be taught what to do when you're fasting. Just like in the mosque. You know, you don't learn about fasting during Ramadan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not about during Ramadan, you know how to fast. No. You've been taught this well long before Ramadan. So when Ramadan is here, you know what to do, how to do your ablution, how to do your prayers, what to do and what not to do. You know, so they prepare you. So it's the same in Christianity. People are prepared way back before there's fasting. So imagine this is something you're doing every now and then.
Every now and then.
So
it becomes part of you.
Become part of the church. Yeah, that's right. So it's something that you're taught. You know exactly what to do when it comes to fasting. So you can even fast when the church is not even fasting. You can do because you got your own personal fasting as well.
Okay.
You got your own, we cannot fast the same day.
Okay.
Some people they'll fast at every Friday or every Thursday. Some people say, you know, every Saturday I'll fast or every Saturday. People have their own time to fast.
Right.
You know.
So fasting cleans the body, like you said
earlier. It does. Yeah.
And when it cleans the body, and you go back and intoxicate the body, and then you have to fast again. So how regularly would you advise the human body to be deprived from food, as in fasting? How many times a week you might advise?
Well, if you ask my personal advice, I would say I would say once a week.
Okay.
If you can, once a week. Like choose a day in the week that suits you that I will fast. You know, especially the day that when you are less busy. Probably you're not working, maybe your day off or you're you know, because honestly when you're fasting and you're working, it's not as effective like when I'm in my house.
Okay.
I'm indoors seeking the face of God. Because some offices you cannot be praying and you're fasting, you're working.
Sure.
The supervisor will not be your best friend. You know what I mean? So it's good like when you're not working, it's a time alone with you and God. It's a time of seclusion. You know, you seclude yourself, shut down everything. Social media, shut down anything that will distract you.
Okay.
Because you want to go to detoxicate your body. You know?
Right. There is a policy now in workplaces that have an element of religious tolerance. So if it is Lent, do Christians have some of those privileges at their workplaces? Because with Islam, I think it's become a norm now to say when it's Ramadan, almost all the employers in the country realize it's Ramadan, then they always try to accommodate Ramadan alongside their timesheet for Muslims that are fasting and break intervals for Muslims that are fasting. And there are some places wherein as long as you're Muslim and you're fasting, you're allowed to go and have your regular 5 daily prayers within that period of work. Do Christians have same opportunities?
Well, yeah, I've heard about offices that go a prayer room. You know, prayer room is for everybody, not only for Christians and Muslims.
Right, it's like a faith room.
Yeah, faith room kind of. Yeah. So if like you're fasting at a particular period and you are at work and your break time is 1 hour, you're allowed to go in and pray. You know what I mean? They provided a room that you can go and pray so that you not be praying while on duty. That's why they want to avoid that.
Right.
You know, they don't want like when you're working 2 o'clock, you're at work and your break is going to be at 4 and 2 o'clock. Once you should be working, you somewhere praying, because that's the azan or whatever they call it, the Muslim prayer in the afternoon on Fridays. You know.
That's
Janaza or whatever they call it.
Juma is on Friday.
All right, Juma, yeah, that's right. Janaza is for the dead, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm missing mine.
No, it's okay.
All right. So there's a room prepared for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what sort of differentiation have you witnessed? Because you mentioned earlier on, Sierra Leoneans are more religious tolerance in possibly all the tribes that we have from Sierra Leone. And we have seen that practices as well in the UK, especially where we are in Southeast. Um, as this is Lent, have you
Okay.
seen any cross religious practices, like Christians are coming over to breakfast with Muslims, or Muslims going over to breakfast with Christians, even though it is a Lent period of fasting for both sides? The times might be different, but do you see any kind of cordiality still being practiced within those two different?
In the east of Freetown, in the eastern, you know, like the Fuabe, because I breakfast 6 and they maybe 7, or maybe it makes, you know, the good thing that our forefathers left with us is religious tolerance. You know, when it comes to faith, we are way better. You know, so we are taught to accommodate each other, accommodate each other. In fact, they used to say it's the same God, it's the same God, it's the same funeral house. You know, one of our sisters that died, so I was there, and when she chose to very young people, God is raising an army of young pastors, people that will take the baton. I don't want to say probably from us, because I'm not old yet. I'm still on active. But people that will take the baton to the next generation.
Right.
You know, so God is raising a lot of young people. Now, when I remember when I got born again in 1990, it was not fashionable to be a pastor. You know what I mean? Like, people don't want to be called pastor.
Yeah.
You know, when people started calling me pastor, I said, don't call me pastor. I'm not. Just call me Brother Paul. No. You know, I don't want to be a pastor. But
Why were you ashamed at that point
no,
in
no,
time?
I would not say ashamed. I had my own plans. You know, I had my own plans. Like, this is what I want. I had my own plans. You know, I had my own plans. Like, this is what I want to do in life. I want to go to school. If you ask 99% of the pastors today, they will tell you that they never wanted to.
Pastors. So I will say primarily the economic significance is greater than those that haven't decided to become. So I see it like an economical advantage for younger people to go into pastoral duties. And we've seen all these churches are growing. I'm not saying the Pentecostal church is popular for doing that, but I think majority of the Pentecostal churches have younger pastors. But when you look at the Catholic Church, the Methodist Church, you see pastoral duties is come of age. As in people who are in their 40s, 50s, and possibly 60s that have served the church for time, and then they eventually gain the title to become pastors because of the services that they've already rendered to the churches, until eventually they get to the ranks of becoming assistants with the pastors. So they grow gradually, but we don't see a lot of that within the Pentecostal church. So are you saying it's a wave of younger people getting into pastoral duties more so to do with the calling of God, or fashionable or economic advantage?
You know, if you want to be a pastor, or you are a pastor because of economic reasons, you fail already. You failed completely. You failed yourself. You failed God. You failed your community. You failed your family. Because it's not about being rich.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, being a pastor doesn't mean that If you want to, like, I want to get money, I want to be rich, then you're in the wrong job.
Okay.
So if you are a pastor because of that, then you are in the wrong job. But it's a calling. It's something that you like to do. I mean, it has to do with God and His people. You serve God through His people.
Right.
That's what a pastor is. So it's not something that there's no money in it. If you see a pastor whose attention is on money, he's probably not called, or he called himself into doing what he's doing. Money is not a big issue when you're a pastor. What you want to see people get saved. You want to see people get ready for to go to heaven. You want to see people that are determined to serve the Lord and to lift the banner of Jesus higher. But if you are in there to make money or want to be popular, because I'm telling you, these days you see pastors who are living large because over the years we have been teaching our people how to look after your man of God. You know what I mean? We believe in giving. We believe in supporting the work of God with our finances. That's the reason why we pay our tithes and our offerings, and we give our donations to the Lord for the furtherance of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So we are taught. For instance, for me, people look after me. People look after me. Call you, man of God, are you okay? Man of God, I'm led to give you this. Man of God, I'm led to buy this for you. But yet, I still work 9 to 5.
That's a total different thing you're talking about right now, because again, I was going to ask you, do you have a 9 to 5? Well, you just said it. And the examples I was possibly narrating earlier on are people who are pastors that have got a calling, and they own properties, cars, fleets of cars, flights, airplanes, mansions, and they live in palaces.
Okay.
But when you look at, I personally think when you look at their congregation, there are people who are destitute in those congregation, and they cannot support those destitute. And like you said, the church has been preaching for the congregation to look after their pastors. Is that something that you should do, even though you cannot afford it, but you have to give your daily bread, that is your only surviving daily bread, to somebody who already lives a luxurious life?
But I see we are dragging this from the
No,
I'm coming.
it's the same.
We are dragging this from the purpose for which we are here. We're here for prayer and fasting and lent. And,
because
but yeah, it's good that you brought that up. I for one, I'm not a supporter of a pastor richer than the people. I'm not a supporter of a pastor having a private jet. And when there are people in your church that don't even have food on their table to give to their children. I do not believe in the so-called prosperity gospel. We preach the prosperity gospel. But when the prosperity is only benefiting one man and his family, or just one set of people, the pastor and his family and his team, and there are people that are poor, there are kids in your church, they cannot even go to university because they don't have the money for their parents to send them to university or to look after them. So I'm always against the pastor who is more richer than his people. It's like one man take it all. So you know what I mean? I mean, if you have to make the life of your people better, you know what I mean? Give them opportunities. If you build a university through the money that is being given to you by the church, let the children of the members of the church be able to attend that university.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Don't make it expensive, that in a way that a poor man child cannot even enroll in a university. So I'm not a fan of rich pastors who are richer at the detriment of the people.
Because the reason why I brought that up is because we're talking about fasting, and it's very important for us to mention that, because most of those churches rely on fasting period. And when you said fasting period is a holy month a holy period for Christianity, as in time to repent, it comes with gifts and stuff like that. And some of the things that they fast with has to be paid for. So imagine you have a congregation of maybe 500 people, and everybody has to go into fasting, and they have to buy the holy water for specific prayers for what you want. And that holy water might cost something like maybe £5, for example. If you multiply that £5 by 500 people in that congregation, it's a huge amount of money, and it's all leading up to fasting period. And like you said, fasting goes with prayers. Yeah. So that's the reason why I actually brought this conversation in, because generating funds for the purpose of fasting and praying is going into the pocket of an individual, like you said, that benefits more than the congregation. So would you say the importance of fasting should be practiced within Christianity without nothing to give to the church, because you're praying for what you possibly want from God to bless you with, than you actually taking it to bless somebody else?
God is raising the church to look after herself. God is raising people in the church to support the work of ministry. We do not fast to support the church financially. There's nothing else. Finance has to do nothing when it comes to fasting. Right? Fasting is fasting. Supporting the church financially is supporting the church financially. So, money is important, of course. We need money to run the church.
Right.
You know, some of these churches you see, the running costs alone is huge. You got salaries to pay, you got bills, you got rent. You know, you got a lot of stuff to do. If you got mortgage, some churches are even on mortgage.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's the people. God does not put the money in heaven and drop it in bundles.
Sure.
You know, God uses people. That is why the pastor's responsibility is to pray for people to be financially stable. Give them opportunities. Look for those who's got desire to go to university. If you can, there should be a fund in the church to send people.
Okay.
You know, I mean, the greatest thing that a church can do is to invest in people.
Right.
Financially, spiritually, morally, in whatever sense.
Now you're making it clear for our audiences to be able to understand that concept, because it's a very controversial concept, but you're making it clear. So continue, sir.
I believe that God will raise me to build a church that does not depend on the people, but the people depending on the church financially.
Right.
I believe that God will take me to a place of financial freedom, that I will be able to look after people. We do not depend on the tithe and the offering that is coming.
Right.
We depend on the blessing of the Lord, maybe through a business or through a connection. We call it divine connection somewhere, you know, or through some good-hearted people that will say, you know, as to every month we're going to give this to you, so that you can be able to help people. So I strongly believe that God will raise a church by the hand of the Lord that will look after the people and not depend on the tithe and the offering. Because you see, it's caused a lot of controversy now these days about this tithe and this offering. And before, I used to be angry when the people were talking against the issue of tithing and offering. And then I began to understand the place where people are coming from.
Right.
The greed, you know, the one man takes it all.
Right.
I mean, the purpose of the tithing is not for the priest alone. It's not for the pastor alone. The purpose of the fasting is for the widows, the orphans, the poor people.
Right.
You know, we look after the people. Is it so that there may be meat in my house, there may be food in my house. People should be able to come to the church and say, Pastor, I can't pay my bills this month. I can't pay my rent this month. I know a church, a big church, that does it as well in this country.
Right.
That they got a special fund. The only thing that they're working about is that the abuse from people. You know people when they say there's something there for you,
people
they want to abuse it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's a bit difficult to get into it. But there is something there for you. Like when you fall behind your rent, and they will
like a hardship form.
That's correct.
For members of the church members who are
so
going through
that's the
difficulties.
purpose of the church, is to support people.
Okay.
So people are getting angry when there are poor people in the church and the pastor is flying in a private jet. Right. You know, and you know very well, man of God or woman of God, you know that there are poor people. Jesus said, "The poor you will have with you always." Yes, there are poor people everywhere.
Right.
But not you enjoying at their detriment. Do you know what I mean? Like you're fleecing them. You're taking money off the poor and making yourself rich. You're building your own kingdom. See, I'm building the house of the Lord. You're building the business center. And the people are suffering.
Right.
What's the purpose of building a church if there are members in the church that will go to bed hungry? Do you know what I mean?
True.
So the money is meant, or whatever the prosperity that comes to the church is meant for the people.
So in Christianity, in Islam, during the month of Ramadan, people who cannot fast will donate exactly what is due for them to break fast to either Muslims around that cannot afford it, or to the mosque, or to people that are destitute. Is it the same for Christianity?
We in Christianity we have the biggest charity organizations all over. We believe in giving to people. We believe in looking after people. You know, I mean, if you look all over, you will see people being taken care of. All these big organizations you see in the world, like the Red Cross. You know what I mean? It's a charity, a Christian charity. It's got a Christian foundation helping people who are trapped in war or war zones or whatever, you know, in the crisis zone. You know, you got a lot. The Samaritan Post, you got a lot of them, a lot of Christian charities that look after people.
Okay.
You know, but my problem is with the Pentecostal movement. We tend not to empower people.
Why is that?
That's the human error. That's a human error.
So are you, as a Pentecostal, are you trying to change that error to make it more humane?
I alone cannot. I mean, it's not a one-man battle, but I'm part of a group that is raising the awareness.
Right.
That as pastors, it's not a wrong to be rich. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, God can bless you. Do you know what I mean? God can bless you through a divine connection. And then you see me now sitting here. God can just give me one opportunity. Bam, like that. I'm a rich man.
Right.
But the riches that God has given to me is not only for me. That we should know. God has given it to you for humanity.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because one day you have to die.
Sure.
You will die and you will leave it behind. And maybe even your son is going to look after, or is going to take after you, does not even believe in what you believe.
Sure.
Does not have the conviction that you have.
Sure.
And so it will die. Your name will die. Your legacy will die. So why not invest in people? Invest in them. That's what Jesus did. When he came, he had 3 years. Jesus had 3 years to leave a legacy. 10 people, equip people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Investing in people. On these 12 disciples, he gave them everything. Spent 3 years with them every day. And when he died, when he went back to heaven, these 12 people turned the world. The Bible says they turned the world upside down because of what they have been taught by Jesus. Some were even killed for believing that Jesus died, and on the third day he rose again from the grave. They were killed because they believed in the message of the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Because of why? Jesus impacted something into them. And so the legacy of Christ is what we are experiencing today in the world. There's over 3 billion Christians all over the world today. Why? Because one man gave everything that he had to the 12. And the 12 likewise had to pass it on to the multitudes and to the generations of the world. You know, so you always want to leave a legacy. Stop kapu, as you say in Korean. You know, take it from there, take it from there, take it from there, take it from there. Help people, invest in them.
Right. I'm really quite impressed the way how you've tackled this particular element of our discussion today.
Okay.
Because I think many Christians or Muslims are always shying away from saying publicly, like you just did, I am a Muslim, I am a practicing Christian, I am a pastor from the Pentecostal church, but I still believe there are certain values that I think is wrong. It's very difficult to find a pastor making those sort of declarations. And what you've just said is a reference to the fact that when you are filthy rich as a pastor, or when you are rich as a pastor, it's not just your wealth. it should be the wealth of you and the people, your congregation. So that is a very impressive statement coming from you. And I think I believe you're not just saying it, you have lived it, and people can see the testimony of that on you, on what you do, and how you.
Wait when I'm rich. The proof of what I'm saying is when I'm rich.
But at the moment you are rich.
I am. Yes, I am.
Thank you. Because the reason I'm saying you are rich is because the little that you have, you are openly sharing it with the ones that cannot afford it. So imagine if God bless you more. You'll be able to even do more than what you're doing right now. So I will still make that.
But you will surprise how many pastors that are using their personal finances to finance the work that God has called them to.
I totally agree.
Sometimes we don't look at that. We think about money. Oh, the people that are giving money, the pastors are making money. Some of these pastors, their life savings is on what they are doing.
Yeah, but you just mentioned earlier on that people give you gifts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you still have your 9 to 5.
That's good.
Because some of those gifts that are being given to you, not all of them will go into your own personal use. You're using your own personal finances to do other things to still bless the church.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. Like pastors sometimes dip into their pockets to do the work of God.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So it's no surprise to hear that, because I have met few pastors that I know that are doing equally the same. And I have met, because you're sitting down here, but I know your goodwill that you've been doing towards the community in the UK, especially the Southeastern community. I mean, your service to the community is one of a pastor that possibly any man can challenge, because you are openly discussing things. You are not against certain things or starting element of discussion. You get yourself involved in discussion and making your points clear.
Yeah.
So people understand you. I think you're one of the relaxing pastors that I think can engage within the community without no barriers of colors, race, tribe, nationality, or religion.
That's correct.
So I will give you that, because...
Well, let me give you a testimony. Something I did last week, Sunday. I went to a family to dedicate the child.
Okay. Like Pulnado.
The correct naming ceremony.
Naming ceremony.
So, and then, before you call the name, you have to ask the people to... So I've got a tradition. Before I call or announce the name of the baby, I will ask the uncle and the aunties who were present there to give...
To pay for the name.
That's correct. Pay for the name. That's correct. That's the right word. Pay for the name. And then people, they always suspicious when the pastor's talking about money. So I broke it to them. I said, this money that we are collecting for this baby is not coming to my pocket.
Good.
We will give this money to the parent, and they will go and open a bank account on the name of this child, so that every month they'll put a certain amount of money into that account. So by the time this child is 18 or after university, that can boost him or her.
Yeah. It's a backup start.
Yeah, that's correct. So when I said that, and everybody was coming to me. Now, because why? The focus was not on me. Therefore, so sometimes I do this thing, I do this community things. I don't ask for money. I never ask for money.
I know.
Okay, if I come and do a program with you, for instance, like I'm doing this now, and then at the end, when you finish, pastor, give you an envelope, or give you something, or give you an envelope, I'll take it.
No. This time I will ask you to pay me something. So it's not me giving you. So I'll ask you to give you something.
I don't ask people for money. I do it with some joy that I'm fulfilling a mandate that God has given to me. If you give it to me, I will take it. It doesn't mean that if I have a church of 1,000 people, they want to put me on salary, am I going to take it? Yes, I will, because I will do it, but that's not the reason why I do it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it's like a good venture, good godly offer.
Yes.
Again, you will take that godly offer, but I know what you will do that godly offer.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So
I think what you're saying is correct, and the other way around, you're going to give me something before you leave.
Oh my God! So you brought me here to.
So you have to dip it in your pocket before you leave.
To charge me. I'm giving you my time. Oh my God!
No, very serious. And I think what we're talking about seems to be light-hearted, but it's a very serious issues within our community.
All right.
And I have seen pastors who are doing exactly what you're doing as well. as in coming to the community and spreading the word of God. But do you think the pastors that we currently have within our community are doing enough to spread the message of fasting, to spread the message of the importance of why Christians and Muslims should fast, especially this month of Lent? Do you think they're spreading the message enough? Because again, I see a lot of Christians around that are not actually fasting. Some of them are not even aware of the month of fasting, as in this is the Lent.
You mean the month of Lent?
Month of Lent.
If you're Catholic, you'll be aware. If you're Methodist, you will be aware. If you're an Anglican, you'll be aware. If your denomination of Christianity believes in Lent, you'll be aware, right? So
is there some of negligence? Like
no, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's just that there are many kinds of Christianity now, like in terms of denomination.
Okay.
It's what your denomination practice. And
okay, can we reverse the awareness? As in, if you are a dedicated member of any of the denominations, you should be aware. Because there are lots of members of various denominations that are not dedicated Christians or Muslims. So, like in Islam, when it's Ramadan, it's a public notice all over the world.
But there are Muslims as well who don't fast Ramadan.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the awareness of Lent. I have come across certain Christians that are not even aware that we are within the Lent period of exactly what Muslims are going through Ramadan. But they are aware of Ramadan. So what sort of message do you think you need to spread out to the Christians of various different denominations that actually practice Lent for them to be aware? Is it to encourage them to be going to church very often or practice their religion very often so that they will know all their necessary calendar dates?
But Tibo, you'll be surprised that there are Catholics who don't only fast during Lent. The Methodists, the Anglicans, the Christians who don't only fast during a periodic time or annual fasting.
Right.
As I told you when I started, that fasting is a personal journey with you and God. There are people who are fasting now that they're fasting because of Lent. There are people who are fasting now and they fast even after Lent. Do you know about the thing about we don't make a show, if I can say.
Okay.
It's not something that you do public.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's a personal thing with you and God. So for instance, now I come to you and I'll sit here and then I'm fasting, you don't even know. Maybe if I'm like your bosom friend, when I come here, the first thing I will do, I'll go to your fridge, open the fridge, and get something to eat or something to drink, and then I don't do it. And then you offer me tea or coffee. Would you like Paul? Would you like something to eat? Would you like some sandwich? Something? That's saying I'm okay. Then then you force me. I said, no, I don't want to eat now. And then in me, that maybe it's fasting.
Yeah.
But I don't want to tell you that I'm fasting. So except that you put me under some serious pressure. I say, Brother T-Boy, I'm fasting. You know what I mean? So it's not something that we talk about. Yeah, there is congregational fasting.
Right.
That cannot be secret because you are now sitting in the church.
Right.
That we are experiencing 3 days of fasting or 21 days of fasting, which is you put on social media because you have to.
You have to get a
remind people. That's correct.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to personal fasting, it's personal for a reason.
And that also happens in Islam as well.
Yeah, I've met Muslims who are fasting. I've got a friend, he's a Muslim. He fasts every Thursday.
Yeah.
Every Thursday.
Some do it every Monday and Thursday.
Yeah. You give him, he won't take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as we're coming to the end of the program, I want to say thank you for joining me tonight in terms of talking about this specific period of Lent, even though you're Pentecostal, but you've highlighted the importance of what fasting is all about and why people should fast is to detox and cleanse the body and also be focused and worship your God and continue to pray during that period of fasting that you're going through. So what would be your message to the Christian community in the Southeast specifically, and then I would say the Christian community within Sierra Leone? What would be your message to them during this particular period of fasting, or for you as Pentecostal that fast on a regular basis? What would be your message for them?
Fasting is good. Fasting sanitizes your bodily system. It's good for an individual. It's good for a community. You see, when we fast, it brings us together. When we fast, It raises the awareness of God in our spirit. So it's all important to fast. And we believe when we fast and when we pray, to God concerning our nation, God will answer our prayer. 2 Chronicles, it says in 7 verse 14, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves, seek my face, and pray. Say, when they call upon me, I will answer them. So it's very good to fast and to pray as a nation. I have seen what prayer and fasting has done as a nation when there is a crisis, when there was Ebola, when there was landslide or whatever they call it, mudslide, when there was the war in Sierra Leone, when there was coup d'etats and all this unrest in Sierra Leone. There are people that are called the intercessors of Sierra Leone. It's a group. Their responsibility is to pray for the nation, not to judge the nation, not to condemn or cry down Sierra Leone. All they were doing, they're crying to God, Lord, have mercy. Please take away, Lord, take away this thing, this report, take away this trouble from our nation. So we believe in praying. We believe in praying. So prayer and fasting is very important. I am believing God that God will give us leaders that will come publicly and declare days of fasting as a nation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That will come and say, as a nation, we need to pray and fast. And the president and the members of his government will be the one at the front leading the nation towards God. We need leaders that will bring us back to God, bring the awareness of God. You know what I mean? As a nation, we need pastors that will put politics aside and tribalism and sectionalism put aside and become a nationalist, become a Sierra Leonean.
Right.
And let's push the agenda of Sierra Leone forward. Until we do that as a nation, until we bring back the awareness of God, until we bring back the fear of God. We used to be a people of
I agree with you
the
on
fear
that.
of God.
Mm-hmm.
You don't afraid God.
Yep. That has been the statement.
Yeah.
20 years
That's
back.
That's correct.
You don't afraid God will make you.
Yes. Because why? They bring that awareness that there is God that is watching from above.
Right.
He's watching over you. You can hide from man. You can hide from everybody. We can never hide from God.
Sure.
Because God sees everything. He knows everything. So we pray for leaders that will bring us back to God. Not take us back to the ways of the devil. But leaders that will say, the reason why we have Christian and Muslim leaders. The president, if he's president, be a Muslim or Christian, the vice be a, it's because we've given them the spiritual mandate as well. Not only political mandate, but the spiritual mandate to bring us to God.
Sure.
But some of our leaders, these politicians, they play politics with even God. They play politics with God. When it comes to God, it's God. When it comes to politics, it's politics.
Yeah.
And the fear about God, it brings us together. The awareness of God brings us together.
Sure.
So until we begin to do this thing as a people, then we will see the salvation of Sierra Leone. But if we are playing politics with God, we are only serious with God when He's fasting, when He's Ramadan, or when He's Lent. That's the period that we are serious with God. That's the time that we will not go to the places that we're not supposed to go, or do the things that we're not supposed to do. It's only when we are fasting, it's only when it's Ramadan and Lent, then we have got a long way to go. In fact, Ramadan is every day. Lent is every day. It's a lifestyle.
Right.
You have to put it up. You don't put it up when it's Ramadan or when it's Lent, and after the Ramadan and Lent, you put it aside and you take your no. It's a constant thing.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, first of all, for that. And I think that is a very strong message. And I will want to hold you on something, but I'll leave that. We're not here for that. But again, you mentioned the fact that our leaders have to do a lot in terms of bringing religion, not using religion and politics at the same time. I think that is very important. And the message that you've just put across to say, as Sierra we should come together and pray so that the nation will be blessed and the nation will be free of everything that is happening. And I totally agree with you on that. As a nation, I think we haven't embraced God that much. Just like you said, we celebrating God occasionally.
That's correct.
When it's Ramadan and when it's Lent, when it's Christmas, when it's Pray Day, when it's Easter. We are celebrating God religiously in occasional events, not on a regular basis. And I think if we come back to the reality of what we used to be like when they say, but when you live with God, then we might have a better Sierra Leone. So thank you very much, Pastor Paul, for joining us. And it's a pleasure to have you. I would definitely going to invite you back for another session.
Wow.
And that session will have to be you preaching the Bible, preaching the gospel to our viewers, and then we'll ask questions after, and then we can discuss some of those topics of discussion. You can have a specific topic that you want to talk about on that particular sermon on the next visit to the lamp, and then we'll be able to possibly discuss it. So thank you very much once for joining us. The Lamp, anyway, is a program that is brought to Sierra Leoneans for them to be able to learn and make progress. So what we've discussed today, I have learned a lot from what we've discussed in terms of what's the different types of fasting within the various different Christian denominations. And I'll put into progress in my own different ways, either by talking to people that I know who are Christians or sharing those ideas with people who are Christians and possibly Muslims as well, because we have almost similar kind of way of doing things. So thank you very much for that, and I will definitely going to host you back again on the Lamp anytime soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's the end of today's program, and I want to say thank you for those who are watching, and it's a pleasure to have you tonight in listening to Pastor Paul, one of our community pastors who is serving the Southeastern Christian community and Muslim community diligently well. And definitely we're going to be having him back here sometime soon to talk about various different issues of his own topic, and then we can ask questions later. So until next time on the Lamp, please learn and make progress. Have a good evening and good night.